Hello, welcome back to the Vaults Remastered. This is chapter 6 of my story of conversion from 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons homebrew campaign into a Pathfinder 2nd edition homebrew campaign known as the Vaults, is the world, subterranean, your Underdark, Darklands setting. Got grimdark style, we got survival themes going on. I got this titanic struggle between the forces of chaos and order, and I'm just about ready to go. But if you've been following the story here, I have taken my old game and I destroyed it, restarted it, recast it as this new world, same basic setting, but I had some cataclysms come up and reset things, wipe things clean. So I have brand new characters coming, brand new plot threads are being thrown out there. I've got new starting locations, new goals for the characters, new factions, new enemies, new big bad evil guys and gals. I get it all. But there's one thing I think that's missing, and that is you can't forget your past. So this episode is going to be talking about honoring your players. Now, I'm not talking about throwing them some sort of parade or whatever party. They probably would like that, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about their characters. They were the lifeblood of your game, right? I mean, without them, you had a hollow world. So it's a shame that you've blown up your old world. You had to do it though in order to make the switch from D&D to Pathfinder. Uh, but is there a way that you can carry their legacy forward? And that's what I want to talk about today is how do you go about doing this? How can we take our old world and honor our players? And we're going to be using a system from Pathfinder known as relics, because not only are these relics literal objects, but they're also figurative. We're going to be taking the story of our characters, their history, their lore, all their background, and we're going to take this beautiful creative body of work that has been growing in my case for 2 years with one of my teams, and 2.5 years, whatever, a year and a half, a whole bunch of time, right? And we're going to take this information and we're going to use it to apply it to the new game, and we're going to use a relic system that Pathfinder 2E has outlined in order to do this. So even though our character's gone, they won't be forgotten. We're going to use them. So let's take a look at the relic system. So from the Game Master Guide, page 94, here's the excerpt. Some extraordinary magic items grow in power along with a character, gaining abilities that add to an adventurer's legend. These are called relics, and owning one can define a character more than any other magic item could. So I have used this system before I knew it was a system in Pathfinder in an earlier game I was playing about 5 years ago, and each of my player characters had distinct, unique magic items that grew with them, and certain powers unlocked at level 5 and 7, whatever. Right? Pathfinder has this as a system in the Game Mastery Guide. So what I'm planning on doing is I'm going to take these roots from the old game and expand them, extend them to the new game, and that being the history and the lore of these characters. And this is going to bear fruit on some new vines, these relics. The relics that I want to implement are going to be backstory, background types of relics. They're going to be personal items of these old characters who, some of them have died, some of them have been lost, some of them have become heroic, figures. Some are NPCs, some are big bad evil guys, but their legacy will be left behind by some personal items. The way I'm looking at this, the more obscure, the better, because I want it to be a mystery to the new character who gets this thing, and they're trying to figure out what's this tooth have to do with anything. Uh, and that discovery, that unlocking, will be kind of part of the fun. So it's going to have the lore and some memories somehow wrapped into it. It's going to have the power of the old world, if you kind of want to think about it from a magical sort of sense. And then as the players, the new players, new characters grow in this new world, these items are going to grow and expand with them. So they're going to be rooted in the old world with the history and lore of those old characters, and they're going to expand and get more powerful as the new characters grow and level with these items. So here's how I'm thinking about doing this. So relics in the vaults game. As I mentioned, I want to use background relics. There's different types of relics that the system talks about. I want to use background relics, personal possessions of the former characters. I'm planning on starting my game at level 0, so just the characters will be an ancestry and a background, no classes yet, and they're going to be doing some sort of desperate survivor refugee mission as their first, session 0, level 0, learning the rules a little bit more and unlocking their abilities. And it's during that session that I want them to discover their relic, whatever it is. And I'm picturing this sort of as a grab bag type of concept where you've got, whatever it is, 10, 12 relics are possible, and they're going to get a random drawing of whatever it is, a tooth, let's say, and they won't know what it is. And I don't want to be too bludgeoning over the head with it either. I don't want it to turn into a guessing game or some sort of metagamey, what's this tooth do? And they're spending the next 6 hours of in-game time doing every single check out of the book. I want it to be more organic, more natural, some way that they acquire this object. Maybe they have it when they wake up. Who knows? Maybe it's part of their inventory and they just, don't realize what it is. Maybe it's already attached to something that they own and they just thought it was decoration. Whatever. I want to have it, kind of be subtle. So they'll get it when they get level 1. So the idea is at the end of that first session, they go from level 0 to level 1, survivors that is, right? And they have possession of this relic, and it starts to unlock its abilities. It has the essence, the history, the spirit, the personality of the original character. Exactly how that manifests, I'm not 100% sure yet, but it's just kind of cooking in my brain. And then as the new character has this item, it is going to be modified and change, morph, and grow with that character. So you're not going to be like locked into that old character's story, whatever it is. It's just that that item will have that flavor and some basic ability that comes with it. So it's going to be an ordinary item. It's going to have a minor boon attached to it, something that is relevant to the original player character. Maybe there's some sort of skill you're trained in, some sort of simple thing like crafting. So maybe one of the characters was the Durgar fighter cleric, and he was actually had blacksmithing training. So maybe if you happen to get his relic item, that might translate into you having somehow unsure of how, but crafting blacksmith type of skill. Not really sure how you have it, but you do. Or maybe you have lore of stonework and masonry based upon this Durgar ancestry. It could be something like that. It could be providing a +1 item bonus to, let's say, a skill check to recall knowledge about stonework, or to craft something, or to maybe do a performance check. Maybe this item came from the party's bard, and for some reason you have the gift of singing or something like that, or playing the flute. I don't know, but this item gives you that extra bonus, that extra uh, source of power that came from this previous owner. It's spirit that's attached to it. And then there's a story that I want to have attached to each of these items as well that comes out during gameplay, and this will connect the two worlds. And if you unlock whatever the story is, I want to make it more of a mechanical concept as well, where now you're able to consult this item somehow, like almost like a crystal ball type of idea, where you can maybe once a week or something like that, once a day, get some information from it somehow. Again, it has to be relevant to that original character. It can't just be like a wish, right? It's got to be something that, if it's that Durgar item, maybe your next session you're confronting some Durgar, and you're investigating this whatever group of warmongering Durgar in the area, and so you can kind of consult the item that you've discovered. Gives you some sort of insight into Durgar society, whatever, right? Something like that. And then the items, these relics are going to start as a seed. So if you got a, this is some of the technical stuff from this section of the Pathfinder book there, but they start as seeds, these little baby items. And they're going to have two aspects that'll be based on the history and personality of the previous owner. Aspects are like what tags would go with the item, fire, shadow, something like that. So kind of that again will be based upon the original character. Were they a bright, shining beacon of energy and light in the vaults? Well, then those would kind of lend itself towards having, let's say, the life aspect or illumination or whatever. I don't know all the aspects off the top of my head, but you kind of get the idea that it's be tied in. And then there are certain powers which are known as gifts. So the aspects determine what gifts these items can acquire and possess as you level up with them. And so you're able to sort of pick from these aspects, these schools of magic, these tags, if you want to think about it that way, and add it to the item. And so as you're leveling up, these things become more powerful. They become more gifted, right? And they can be minor gifts, major gifts, up to grand gifts. So as you get higher and higher, these abilities get more numerous and more powerful. And there's also a way that you can actually sort of craft with them. And from what I'm understanding, you can add runes. Instead of a sort of a random gift, you can actually put a rune to it, like a rune of, in Pathfinder parlance, it's kind of like, damaging runes or protective runes. Again, I don't know all the technical words, but in D&D it'd be like, oh, it's a +1 warhammer, something like that, or it's +1 armor. So you could add these runes, these damagers or defensive runes or whatever, to the items rather than the gift. So it allows some crafting, some personalization with these items as well. And then the whole real idea is here is that this item is going to become their main magical item. Even if it's, let's say, a tooth, it could be something that maybe you put in the pommel of the sword, or wear it as a necklace or something like that. It's gonna boost up the strength of that character. It's gonna bolster any of their weaknesses. So this is gonna be the main tool that the players are gonna have in order to, face down these higher challenges as they level up. So this thing needs to be customizable and strong enough to do that. And then the rest of the videos is going to get into how to go about doing this. So I'm going to look at the two different teams that I have had in my game. The Phantoms of Ravenward was one of them. And then the other one was the Shadow Roses. We're going to take a look at the two teams, and I'm going to pick one or two of these characters to use as an example of how I want to design a unique relic for, one or two characters to show you how I'm planning on going about doing this, and where I'm gonna get my inspiration and ideas from. And I'm gonna be using my good friend Kathy there, ChatGPT. My muse is gonna help me figure out these relics, what they do, what they look like, etc. All right, so let's pause the vid for a little bit, and then we'll get that set up with Kathy, and we'll get to it. All right, so I've got ChatGPT open. And I went ahead here and just put in, I just want to make sure that she knows what the relic system is. So I just asked if she knows what it is, and she gave me a response, yes. It's a role-playing, let's see, relic system provides way to grant weapons, armor, unique items, powerful abilities. The idea is that these items grow in power alongside the characters who wield them, making them not just tools, but integral parts of the story. So that's exactly what I'm wanting to do, except I'm going to take it one step further, and that is connect it back to the original characters, that their energy is imbued in these things. And then she gives the overview. Base items, relics are standard items like a sword, armor, whatever. Minor gifts, as the character grows, the relic can be bestowed with minor gifts. Abilities and enhancements that make the relic more potent. Major gifts, as the relic progresses in higher levels, it can get major gifts, more powerful enhancements, abilities. There's a limit to how many they can have. Drawbacks. This is something that I didn't catch as I was reading, but this is interesting. As relics grow in power, they might also develop drawbacks. These are penalties or negative effects that come with using the relic. So that wasn't in the part that I read, but it's an interesting concept. The mechanic helps balance the increased power of the relics and adds narrative flavor. Now, I didn't, fully read through that whole section, so maybe I just overlooked it. But this is an interesting idea. So not all is good with these things. Maybe there's some penalty, something that also grows in power and exacts a cost on the player. I like that. Storytelling, one of the main goals of the Relic system is to integrate the items into the narrative of the campaign. That's exactly why I want to use them. The growth and evolution of the Relic can be tied to character experiences, achievements, etc. Blah, 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 etc., etc. So anyway, I like this because, see, this is the big difference with Pathfinder and D&D, is Pathfinder has a lot of systems, probably for every homebrewy thing or just about that you've used or could think about using. And as I mentioned, I've already done something like this in a previous game. So the fact that Pathfinder has rules that you can actually reference rather than trying to make things up, because I always find that's the biggest problem with D&D is that the core rules of D&D are, as I've mentioned this in a couple earlier videos, they're, in my opinion, just vanilla. They're just plain baseline rules. And the fun stuff, the cool stuff is the things that is, DMs, you sit there and create, the homebrew, right? This whole concept of homebrewing. With Pathfinder, the homebrewing's a lot easier because they have a lot of systems already built into the rules. They're already meshed in with everything, so you don't have to feel like, man, am I going to break the game if I do this? These things have been, tested or used already and thought about, so it's easy to kind of take one of these systems and integrate it into your game and tweak it and homebrew it that way. So anyway, she's ready to go. Now, here's what I've got. So I have two different teams of hero characters from the last game, the D&D game. There were the Phantoms of Ravenward, which consisted of these 6 characters. Ledrith, the Drow Bard. Obsidian was a Gem Soul Oread Monk. Aquin was an Amethyst Dragonborn fighter. Clathris was a Myconid sorcerer, although he was starting to lean towards a homebrew spiritualist that I had created. Aster was a Vryloka, which is the like Damphir, the half vampire. That's a 4th edition, I think, race, and I was homebrewing it for 5e. He was a paladin. And then Gobbler, that was a Duro, and it was a Warlock. So these were the 6 characters who were in that party. And then this is what their minis look like using Talespire. If you've not used Talespire before, it's like whatever 1D&D's virtual tabletop is trying to be, but this is already in existence. So you can use Hero Forge to create minis and then export those files over to your Talespire, which runs through Steam, and it's got all kinds of cool 3D, building effects and map creating stuff. So anyway, Aquin, Ledrith, Aster, Clathris, Gobbler, and Obsidian. I think I'm going to focus on Obsidian and her relic. And here's what I've got for that right now. Obsidian's relic. She wants to have this mask. And when she was describing what it might look like, I was thinking Oni. Like the those Japanese demon-looking masks. So it's this dark, shadowy mask made and carved out of black stone because Obsidian is the player who was with the party up until the very last session when Ledrith accepted Saradess's energy into her and was transformed into Laradress, this new reborn draconic primordial, this shadowy dragon primordial, was reborn within her body. And then Laradress gave the party, ultimatum essentially, join me, join my cult. You'll serve as, generals, my old friends, and we'll squash all those who, dared threaten us in the past. I'll grant you that power. All the characters said no except for Obsidian. Obsidian was promised to be like the breaker of chains, the freer of her people, because that was one of her main story. One of her main backgrounds was that she was a servant, was a slave essentially to this evil, or not really necessarily evil, but just a bad guy, a earth genie, a Dao known as Darshik, and she had escaped, had learned some Way of the Shadow monk abilities, and was ultimately wanting to go and free her people from Darshik's, you know, cruel monastery slash um, slave compound. They were, having controlled breeding programs to make the ultimate warriors. Bad stuff. And they served the Black Earth cult. They served under Ram, who was the leader of the entire cult. And I've mentioned a lot of this in a couple of my previous videos. So if you haven't checked those out yet, go back and take a look. But anyway, she joins this cult, and is now serving as, the big, commander, I guess, the right hand of Laradress. So Obsidian wears this mask, and it's meant to symbolize, her her loyalty to Laradress, also just to intimidate and scare those that she's getting vengeance upon. She is Laradress's fist. She is out there freeing all these, slaved people with, her own group of badass, monk warrior types. Another story. But anyway, her relic is this mask. It would have fallen off. One of her early versions of this would have been knocked off, uh, broken, whatever, when she was battling that genie, that Earth genie, that Tao, that guy by the name of Darshik. She defeated him and cast him into shadow, but her mask would have been broken and lost during that fight. Then her and her allies would have had to, get out of there with the slaves they had freed before, the Black Earth cult army shows up, leaving behind this mask. Or perhaps it's a calling card and she leaves it behind. That part, we can figure out. But anyway, I kind of like that the calling card's maybe a better thought, a better option. After defeating the guy, she leaves the mask behind, like, hey, I was here type of thing. The Laradress's, cult was here. I'm not sure what she calls herself yet. I got to talk to the player about that and see. So anyway, her character has become a minion of Big Bad Evil, gal, and Laradress is the another one of my player characters is the Big Bad Evil gal. So it's kind of funny that those two players, their characters are still going in the new game, but they've become essentially the dark side of, in the Pathfinder game when that starts up, almost like the Emperor and, Darth Vader type of idea. So anyway, personality wise, Obsidian was a loyal friend. But after abandoning the party to join this cult, become this breaker chain, she now feels a lot of shame and, is perhaps regretting it, but at the same time is basking in the power and the ability to free all these people that before she didn't have the strength to do. She's always been determined to free her people, and now she's able to do it. So that has definitely gotten her excited. And then the other thing about the mask, this isn't the first time she's worn a mask. If you go back and look at her mini, one thing about Obsidian, when the character first joined the party, she was disguising herself as one of the Stone Soul Oreads and was hiding her gemmy, shiny brilliance. That's because the, females in the Oread society were not seen as equals. They were seen as, lessers. They were seen as servants, as, breeding stock, slave girls, that kind of stuff. Especially in, Darshik's, his monastery there. The Fists of the Stone Tyrant is what they were called. So she, broke out, snuck out, and has disguised herself as a man, as a Stone Soul Oriad this whole time until she met the party. So for her, wearing masks is just like second skin to her. So this mask allows her to pretend to be someone else. So it's kind of continuing that mental state of, pretending, an escape. So anyway, that is one of the relics I want to build today. So I want to take this information and use it to combine with what the system is, and that's what we were talking about with, Kathy over here. This whole storytelling, drawbacks, major gifts, minor gifts, etc. I'm not going to try to build the whole thing out at this point. There's, that's something that needs to live and grow and breathe as the character does. But what I do want to do is use my basic ideas. Like, what is the item? We know it's a mask. So some sort of stone mask. Is it cracked? Is it intact? I don't know yet. It needs to embody obsidian, and her personality, her spirit, so that when a new character has this mask in their possession, they're getting this vibe, they're getting this that shadow, they're getting that wanting to free and rescue people, maybe getting that conflict of shame and pride, you know. And then anyway, it's an ordinary thing, ordinary item, and it's gonna provide some sort of minor boon. So that needs to be figured out. And my ideas are maybe a crafting skill, a lore skill. So maybe Kathy can help with those. Then there's the +1 item bonuses, perhaps. So maybe it gives a +1 bonus to stealth check or something like that. Or just recalling knowledge about Oriad or what, or martial arts type of things. So there's some options here. That's where I want to get Kathy's help, and then figure out what sort of aspect it might embody. So I need to know the different aspects, or she needs to know the different aspects that can be put on these relic seeds. And then from there, I don't need to know all the gifts and things. That's where that'll be determined and customized by whatever character happens to get this mask. And the mask doesn't need to go to a monk. It doesn't need to go to some stealthy person. They could go to whomever, and for whatever reason they start wearing this mask as, their normal attire. Maybe it's a wizard, who knows? But it gives them this extra oomph, this extra abilities early, and then it can evolve and get more powerful as the character levels up and starts adding more of these gifts to it. So that's the idea, right? That's what we want to do. So what I want to do is take this information, combine it with the requirements for the relic seed, and see if Kathy can figure out or give me a couple of proposals for, this mask. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna see what she can put together here. Let me just confirm. Do you know what the aspects are for these relics? There are several options that I'm aware of. Let's see, just make sure she knows. All right, so last update was January 2022. These were the aspects. I don't think this is the aspects we're looking for. Let me pause. Let me just double check on my Pathfinder stuff. 1 sec. All right, so I pulled up the archives of Nethys. This has stuff I'm looking for. So relic aspects. The aspects are what you're seeing, at the top here: dragon gifts, earth gifts, emotion gifts, fiend gifts, etc. So those are the ones we're looking for. I'm not sure if these fit with any. Yeah, I'm not sure what she was talking about. So depends when Game Mastery Guide came out versus that database that she's operating off of. So this is something you gotta watch out for with ChatGPT, right? It's got potentially outdated information. So I want to see if I can do this. I'm gonna correct her. I think your information may be outdated. Do you have access to the Game Mastery Guide or PF2E? Probably not. Okay, they're familiar with it. Alright, so she says she does. Well, here is the list of aspects I have access to. Boom. Yeah, those. All right, so again, so she got confused. Looks like Now she's got it. Okay. So she does have access to the gifts. This is why I always try to confirm with her what she knows. Because if you just assume she knows it and you start asking questions to try to get something, she could go off. Like, I think the aspect she might have been doing here might have been, it's almost like cleric domains or something. These are the ones we're looking for. All right, there we go. Good, good, good. Now we're on the same page. Now let's see if we can tell her. Okay, I want to get your help designing some relics to connect my new remastered game with my old one. I am switching rule sets from DnD 5e to Pathfinder 2e. Each character, so each PC will have a relic that they acquired from a, let's clarify. Each new PF2E PC will have a relic that they acquired from an old D&D 5e PC that they never met. These relics will hold background, history, personality, etc. of the former PC that the new PC will discover. These relics will have aspects and gifts that are associated with the original PC, but the new PC will evolve the relic as they level up. Can I tell you about the first PC and relic I'd like to get your help with? Absolutely. I love the idea of connecting your old campaign with the new one. This adds depth, history, personal touch to each new character's journey. Can make for some incredible storytelling. Please tell me about the D&D PC. Okay. Now, I'm going to go and get the information from Obsidian stuff. So let me do that. Copy that over here. Okay. So I'm going to go back over here. The old PC's name was Obsidian. Paste this. Personality. Her personality. Got that. Then we need to give the item description. Right, paste this as plain text. Item description. Relic item. Item idea. Boom. Okay, so we've got the old PC personality / spirit, we'll say. And the idea for the relic. And then the last thing I want to give her is the general idea for how this works. Copy that. Take this back over here. Paste this as plain text. Right. My idea for these relics is based on the following parameters. Okay, do that. All right. Now, can you suggest 3 relics with as much detail as possible for this mask that once... Can you suggest 3 variations for this mask that once belonged to obsidian with as much detail as possible that matches my criteria? Thanks. Boom, let's see what she can do. No idea what she's going to spit out here. All right, 3 variations. We have the Mask of the Hidden Dragon, Seed Aspects, Shadow and Mind, Background. Obsidian often hid her identity, wearing her mask as if it was her second skin. Over time, this mask absorbed her essence, making it not just a tool for disguise, but a vessel of her very soul. It is said that when worn, the mask feels cool to the touch, and the wearer might hear faint whispers of guidance, likely remnants of Obsidian's conflicted spirit. It's given an idea for the initial minor boon, Trained in Deception. Story unlocked. The mask reveals visions of Obsidian's struggles, her ties to Laradress, and her difficult decisions. This connection to the Shadow Dragon Primordial can be called upon to provide clues about draconic lore or shadowy rituals. Potential gifts. All right, like this. Shadow Veil, minor. While wearing the mask, you can merge with the shadows, get a +1 item bonus to stealth checks. Whispers of Laradress, moderate. Once per day, you can consult the mask for guidance, gaining a hint or clue about a current challenge related to dragons or shadows. Okay. Dragon's Breath is a major one. I don't think there is such a thing as moderate. Yeah, I think it says minor, major, grand, but I'll double check that in the core rulebook. Sorry, in the Game Mastery Guide. Anyway, we'll do that later. Dragon's Breath, once per week, you can unleash a cone of shadowy flame. Once a week, that seems a little bit obscure or rare. I mean, I get that it could be powerful, but once you get the major ones, you're like in your, what, teens or whatever, level-wise? Mind's Masquerade Grand. The wearer can cast Veil as an innate arcane spell once per day, allowing them to change appearances at will. Yeah, so I don't know if these are too powerful, OP or whatever, right? I don't know the system well enough yet to tell you. But I like the basic concept here, right? Gives a name for it, gives me aspects, gives me some background information that ties to the character, who's now going to be an NPC. Gives an idea for this initial boon. So you're trained in deception. Okay. That might be better if it was intimidation, though. I don't know. I have to look at that. And it gives some idea about once it's unlocked. And some potential gifts. So this could be just a recommendation you could give to the player. All right, then the second version, Mask of Breaker's Shame. Seed aspects, emotion and mental. Background, Obsidian's betrayal and subsequent shame have imbued the mask with a powerful emotional force. It's said that the mask can make its wearer feel an overwhelming sense of responsibility, a call to make things right. Initial minor boon, Trained in Intimidation. Okay. Story unlocked. The mask provides glimpses of Obsidian's past actions, her loyalties, and the weight of her choices. Consulting the mask can offer insights into the motives and emotions of others. So I'd have to come up with some sort of mechanics for that, right? If you unlock it, then once a day can make some sort of perception check or something. Insight, or whatever it is called, sense motive, I think it is in Pathfinder. Potential gifts, Echo of Betrayal, minor. Once a day, you can use the mask to sense duplicity, gain a +1 item bonus to perception, to sense deceit. Chains of Responsibility. The mask can be activated to harden the user's resolve, providing temporary hit points when facing overwhelming odds. All right, so notice she's not given specific mechanics, but you can sit here and ask her, hey, can you give a mechanical boost to that? And give her a rough level range, hey, you're gonna get this at level 6. I need a power and mechanics for this that would match that level, and then she'll give you more information. And of course, you want to compare that to actual game abilities or spells and stuff. Aura of atonement. Enemies who see the mask and meet your gaze feel a pang of regret and sorrow, potentially making them hesitate or reconsider their actions. So it sounds like maybe make them flat-footed or something. Or I'm not sure what the condition would be for that. Hesitating, whatever. Hesitant one. Metal's memory, grand. Once per week, you can touch metallic objects and see a brief vision of significant event it has witnessed. I'm not sure what that really has to do with the mask or any of its abilities. Shadowy stuff. What's up with metal? I don't know. Mask of the Draconic Cultist. Seed aspects, dragon and death. Background, serving Laradress, the mask was at the epicenter of many rituals and acts of devotion. It has absorbed some of the primordial energy, and it's believed that donning the mask can offer glimpses of the power and majesty of dragons. Yeah, so maybe it's absorbed Laradress's energy as well as Obsidian's. You're trained in dragon lore. Story unlocked, the mask can recount tales of Obsidian's time with Laradress, giving insight into the workings of draconic cults and their rituals. Potential gifts, scales of the primordial. Get a +1 item bonus to AC against dragon type creatures' breath weapons. I mean, that's pretty narrow range, so maybe just against dragon attacks of any type. Echoes of the cult. When near dragon related artifacts or locations, the mask vibrates slightly, hinting at their importance. That's interesting. Again, you need some mechanics for this stuff, but it's an interesting idea. Death's respite or respite. Once per week, when you're reduced to 0, you can activate the mask to stabilize instantly and provide temporary hit points. That's kind of a little bit powerful, but it's only once a week. Laradress's gaze. Once a week, summon a shadowy apparition of a dragon to aid in combat or intimidate foes. Damn. Let me pause real quick. So I got to see if there is such a thing as moderate and when you get these level major, grand, etc. 1 second. All right, I pulled up in my game mastery guide. You can see here's table 2-22 relic gifts. So these are the number of gifts you can get, and this is the level you get them at, and then this is the gift type. So there's minor, minor, major, major, grand. So there's no moderate. So again, Kathy's making some stuff up that she doesn't know what she's talking about. But you get more gifts as you level. This is the level you get them at, and then this is the relative power, if you will. So you don't get a major till 9th. So the major gifts need to be equivalent to 9th level, abilities. Somewhere the 9th, 10, 11, 12. You don't get your grand until 17th. So that's got to be a really strong power to make it worth it. So you pretty much get one gift every 4 levels, it says. All right, so we've got to keep that in mind as we're working on these, as we're designing these things. So let me go back over to Kathy. So, she's got moderate, which is not a thing. And then I need to look at the power level. This is at 9th level potentially. This is at 17th. So I'd have to match that up with something in the game that already exists. Probably with some of the other gifts that are listed in the game mastery guide and see if these measure up or not. I'm not worried about that right now. This is just, kind of spitballing some ideas, getting some basic concepts going. So I like the 3 options. I'm kind of leaning towards the second one being, this is really good. I kind of like this idea. And maybe this gets into drawbacks or something like that. Can you also propose a drawback for each of these mask variants? Because that would be something like, if you're using the one where, you're getting shame, maybe by a certain number of uses or whatever, you know, you you regret stuff. I don't know. Of course, drawbacks add depth. Drawback to the Mask of Hidden Dragon. Whispering Shadows. Whenever the wearer uses one of the mask's gifts, they start to hear faint whispers of Obsidian's regrets and moments of betrayal. These whispers can be distracting, imposing a -1 circumstance penalty to perception checks and will saves against auditory effects for 1 hour. Again, that's not super detrimental, but it's flavorful, right? It's interesting. Starting to hear like evil ASMR. Mask of the Breaker Shame, Weight of Betrayal. Each time the wearer uses the mask gifts, they are overwhelmed with feelings of guilt and responsibility, mirroring Obsidian's own emotions. For the next hour after using a gift, any attempt to lie, deceive, or betray results in the wearer taking mental damage equal to their level as the weight of Obsidian's shame crashes down. I can just have fun with that during the game. Shame. Mask of the Draconic Cultist. Drawback. Lair-Address's claim. Activating the gifts of the mask occasionally draws the attention of the Shadow Dragon Primordial Lair-Address. After using any of the mask's gifts, there's a 10% chance that Lair-Address will send a shadowy minion or omen as a reminder of the wearer's ties to the dragon. This can manifest as a brief challenge, combat encounter with a shadowy creature, or a haunting vision that leaves the wearer unsettled. Yeah, I mean that could be interesting, but 10% just willy nilly. I think so that'd be more if you use the major gift or you need to do a sacrifice of some sort in order to access something. Problem with this one is it ties too much to Lair Dress and not to Obsidian. So that's my issue here. It's interesting. I can see there being an actual magical item that is in game that would mirror this, but I don't see it as the relic. So really, I'm liking the Mask of Breaker Shame there, and the Hidden Dragon are probably my two favorite. And so what I might end up doing is kind of fusing a couple of these together. I'm also going to run this by the player character who's Obsidian is their character. So even though they've ceded control of this character to me as an NPC in the Pathfinder game, I still am including, right? I'm still including the players in any of the decision making because that's the whole point of this conversation of what I'm trying to do. I'm honoring my players, right? I'm using these are their creations. I didn't make these characters, so you know I have to respect that and appreciate that. So when my whole point here is this whole relics of the old world and honoring my players, right? I mean, this is their game too. Huh. All right, so that's a cool idea. All right, so now what I want to do, that's Obsidian. I got some ideas. I think it's pretty cool. So if we're gonna go with at least some fusion preps there for Obsidian's relic. But I'm going to get feedback from the player. Then the other one I might look at real quickly to give you an idea of where I'm going next. There's the other team, the Shadow Roses. There were 6 characters there as well. Barry, the Stone Soul Oriad Monk. Onyx was a Gearforged Paladin. Purnow was the Myconid Wizard. Rosebolt was a Drow Ranger. Thali was a Darakul Cleric. And Sam Aram was actually Drow, but was wearing a gear-forged suit of armor that was magically fused around her. And so she was a barbarian with a gear-forged exoskeleton. So these are their minis, their characters that were, again, Hero Forge creations taken over into Talespire. Although one of these is a stock. I think Onyx is a stock Gear Forge that's in the game itself. The rest of these were created in Hero Forge. So these 6 of these, I think I want to focus on Purnow. I've got some good info from him that I can use, and based upon that, I have this idea right now. Purnow's relic. He's been carrying around 3/4 of this humanoid skull, the bones of a skull, and it was the skull of a bad guy, sort of, named Grozgol Sargeze. He was the curator supremus. He was the tortured soul that was haunting and protecting Ivaforth Hall, the mega dungeon in the Vaults campaign, which, again, if you saw a couple of my earlier videos, I've talked about this already. This was where the Shadow Roses triggered the cataclysmic events that ended their campaign. They were at Ivaforth Hall, activated this uh, derelict alien crafts chaos engine that has emitted a huge warp field bubble around it. And they also unleashed the crazed Arcano Intelligence AI by the name of Nexus, which is now assimilating constructs and humanoids in the refugee camps that are nearby to Ivorforth Hall. Anyway, they got the dude's skull that they recovered, and Purnell's trying to figure out what the heck this thing is. He was sensing, telepathic or whatever psychic energy from it, but could not figure it out. He was trying. He thought it was some magical something or another, but just didn't get a chance to ever really, discover what this thing wanted, other than it seemed maniacal and wanted the party dead. That was because it saw them as bad guys. The party was in there stealing crap out of the Ivaforth Hall, which he and his protectors, these conservators, from the city of Pedestal before it fell to the tyranny of the Black Earth cult. These guys were the sworn protectors of this lore, and had hidden it in Ivorforth Hall beneath the city before they were betrayed by their own. But anyway, this skull has a lot of personality to it. And Pernow has it. He was a wizard. He was very intellectual. He was actually on a mission to, kind of like Groskull's mission. He was trying to protect and preserve magic in the vaults because so much had gone missing. That's kind of part of the backstory of the world. Magic is very low in the world. A lot of it's gone missing, and people are, you know, seeking out arcane blooded, and they are abducting them for whatever purposes. That was something he was trying to figure out with his character. But he was sort of a loner. Mike and Into My World, they don't speak. They communicate through their spores telepathically. So he was always kind of alone, mute. And so anyway, but he was very curious about magic. He was trying to figure out the skull. That's where he sort of left off. So I wanna use this info, and I want to do another run with ChatGPT Kathy there and see what she thinks. So let me pause the vid for a second and throw that in there, and then we'll see what she comes up with. We'll be right back. Okay, I've got it programmed in here. So I'm telling her, let's do this for another character. And I gave Purnell's information, the Myconid Mushroom Folk Wizard. Here's his personality and spirit. Here's the idea for the relic, the skull. And let's see if she also gives me the drawbacks too without me prompting. Let's shoot that in there. So, go down to the bottom here. Let's see what she's doing. Okay, we got the seed aspects, the background, the boon, the story, the potential gifts, and the drawbacks. So, boom. See, this is what I like with Chatty. I don't have to remind her, oh, yeah, do the drawbacks again. She knows what to do. All right, so here's the first one. Skull of the Lore Keeper. Seed aspects, mind and soul. Background. This skull once belonged to Groskull Sargazy, the curator supremacist, now contains fragmented memories of its past. Per now, and its pursuit of knowledge often commune with the skull, attempting to unlock its hidden lore. The relic now acts as a reservoir of this knowledge, offering glimpses of ancient information to those attuned to its essence. Your minor boon, you become trained in Arcana. Story unlocked. The skull can be consulted to reveal fragmented visions of the Library of Pedestal and the invaluable knowledge it contained. The wearer gains insights into lost spells, rituals, and other arcane mysteries. Got some potential gifts. Echo of the Past. Once per day, you can get a +1 item bonus to recall knowledge about arcane stuff. Whisper of the Curator. The skull provides hints or guidance when near arcane artifacts or significant magical locations. Mental repository. User can store a single spell within the skull. That's cool. Casting it without expending a spell slot. Although that's, I think, changed in the remaster. Summon spectral guardians to defend a specific location or object for a short duration. Drawback, weight of knowledge. Every time the wearer uses one of the gifts, they're flooded with countless thoughts and memories, leading to a temporary state of sensory overload. This imposes a -1 circumstance penalty to perception checks for the next hour. Yeah, these drawbacks, I mean, there has to be some sort of trigger to them. I don't know if it's just, boom, it happens. I kind of like maybe there's a die roll, like a flat check maybe you gotta make. Fragmented memory skull. Seed aspects, time and death. The fractured state of the skull represents the shattered remnants of Groskull Sargazy's existence. Purnell's endless curiosity to have him dive deep into the mystery of the skull, making it a bridge between the realms of the living and the dead. You're trained in occultism. Story unlocked. The skull occasionally shows spectral scenes of Groskull's life, detailing the lengths he went to in order to protect and curate the magical knowledge he held dear. Now, one problem here I'm seeing is it's really not dipping into Purnell's personality too much, which might be okay in this example just because the skull contains the essence of Groskull, so maybe it would be the more present entity. I don't know. Potential gifts. Temporal vision. Gain brief glimpses of past events in particular location. Communicate with spirits or ghosts. The major arcane restoration. Once a day, you restore a used spell slot. Sargaze's final stand. Once per week, invoke the spirit of Brawl's to aid in combat. Drawback. Ghostly Echoes. When used in Skull's gifts, 15% chance vengeful spirits of the Black Earth Cult will be alerted. Oh, okay. So a bunch of ghosts suddenly appeared. Maybe if, these drawbacks are, if, they get more likely as you get higher level gifts access, that might make a little more sense. Hey, there's a 5% chance, 10, 20, 50, or flat checks, that'll get higher. Conservator's Beacon. Purnell's constant interaction with the skulls infused it with a blend of his own life force and the ancient essence of Grosgold. The skull now acts as a beacon, drawing magical energies and aiding in the preservation of arcane lore. See, now I like this one. This could fit with Purnell. Metal and life. Metal. That's weird. Metal. Train in preservation lore. Okay. Story unlocked. The skull illuminates hidden inscriptions, runes, or texts, revealing the lost lore of the vaults and the stories of the conservators. Potential gifts. Mystic attraction. Detect nearby arcane objects or sources of magic. Is that going to be like detect magic as spell? I think I got to look into is these gifts. I think there's got to be a limit to how often you can use them. I'll have to look that up. Life preservation once a day. Reduces 0 hit points. You stabilize instantly. That's kind of powerful, isn't it? Metallic resonance. Enhance or maybe this could work if you're able to project your soul into the skull, but then your body's there to get kicked around or something. Metallic resonance. Enhance or suppress the properties of a metallic object. What is with the metal? That's what I understand. Where did I say anything about metal? Conservator's bond. I mean, I guess protecting, conserving, but why metal? Why not paper? Anyway, conservator's bond. Create a protective barrier around a valuable artifact or individual, shielding it from harm. What defines a valuable artifact? That would be hard to game, I guess. Drawback. Beacon's Call. The skull, acting as a beacon, occasionally draws the attention of magical creatures or enemies curious about its power. This can result in an unplanned magical phenomena or encounter. So again, there needs to be some mechanics behind these things. Just starting points depending on your campaign's narrative. All right. I like that last one of the three. The other two were, I think, too much focused on Groscall and not Purnow. So I might have to take another pass at those just to see if I can get them to focus more on the character and not on the NPC spirit. Anyway, I think that is where I'm going to wrap this. And kind of conclude is, so the point of the relic system is you're trying to honor the old game, your old players, their characters, and use their stories to tie into the new game. Not plot wise per se, but just that flavor, that background, those stories that those characters brought to the game. And then the players, and each of the players I've told this to, which is all of them, they've all said, this sounds cool, this sounds fun. They've been giving me feedback on, on the relics that they think their character might have left behind or what their personality was. They've been into the whole concept of they're not done, with those old characters. Even though they're not playing anymore, they still have this bridge, these roots that they've planted from the first campaign. They're now spreading, so they're into this idea, and I think it's a great concept to bring to anytime you're gonna trash one old game and start something new. Bridge, grow, spread it out there, and that's why I really like the Pathfinder second edition's relics rules that are found in the Game Mastery Guide, or you can go on the archives of Nethys and look them up for yourself as well. Anyway, hopefully there was some good info here, and you're going to give this a shot for yourself, your own game. And if you like the vids, go ahead and like, subscribe, all that cool stuff down in the comments, and I will see you on the next vid. I think I'm going to switch gears and get into some of the specific homebrew ancestries and stuff like that, primordials that I'm going to be using in this campaign world, because I have to take all of that stuff and turn that from D&D 5e into Pathfinder 2e, and that is going to be a huge undertaking. I've got a bunch of them done already, but whether or not they work, I don't know. All right, peace out.